This week on Healthy Living, we highlight FGM and its impact in our lives. FGM victims tell their stories. Plus, Equatorial Guinea reports its first outbreak of Marburg virus. That's in this edition of Healthy Living. Hello and welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Kamiti Kibayasi. The World Health Organization says female genital mutilation, FGM, is cruel reality for more than 200 million girls and women globally. Meanwhile, 3 million girls in Africa are at risk of undergoing FGM every year. WHO defines FGM as all procedures that involve partial or total removal of the external female genitalia. The practice has no health benefits for girls and women and causes severe bleeding as well as complication in childbirth and increase the risk of newborn deaths. WHO strongly urges health care providers not to perform FGM and has developed a global strategy to support healthcare providers against medicalization. There is growing evidence that overall rates of FGM are declining across the globe according to UNICEF. However, progress towards abandonment of the practice has been slow and uneven across and within countries. This is particularly the case in Ethiopia and Kenya, where there have been marked decreases in national prevalence rates, but these declines have not taken place in all regions or amongst all demographic or social groups. Huba Abdi has this report from Nairobi.
Imani, not her real name, still remembers when she was cut at the age of 10. At the time, she believed that the practice was the right thing to do and she had no choice.
I was circumcised when I was 10 years old, and at that time, I was happy. Because when it comes to December, young girls who are not circumcised must be circumcised. I wanted to be a woman. It is like very important rite of passage for our Kisii community.
The cut is practiced for various reasons. Some communities use it as a rite of passage. Some see it as a way of enhancing hygiene and aesthetics, sexual maturity, marriageability, and social belonging.
And now that the internet has come, I wanted to comfort myself that I will be able to have a good sexual life. So I was just reading, and the things I was reading were affecting me psychologically. So I started to feel sad, and I felt that I'm not a perfect woman because of circumcision.
The latest Kenya Demographic Health Survey of 2022 showed that the practice of FGM decreased from 21% in 2014 to 15% in 2022. The prevalence was high among the Somali, Samburu, Kisii, and Maasai women. However, despite this success, there are still many young girls who undergo female genital mutilation in different parts of the country.
If someone asks you for a hand in marriage, our culture is that you must be circumcised first for you to be someone's wife. And no one wants to marry a girl who has not been circumcised. You'll find mothers who are circumcising their girls because they want them to be married. You'll find poverty is what makes a person marry a girl. And for us, marrying a girl and FGM go together.
Jadida Lemaron says female genital mutilation is rooted in gender inequality and power imbalances. Fighting it requires changing the cultural and social norms that increase the risk of harm to women. This means addressing all other forms of violence and harmful practices such as child marriage, as well as physical, sexual, and psychological violence occurring in the family, institution, and communities.
Ukienda katika jamii
First, if you go to any community in Kenya that practice FGM and ask them what their problem is, they won't say FGM. They will say their problem is water. At this time, if you go to Kajiado, they will tell you that we are hungry and other things before they talk about FGM. We cannot say that we are ending FGM if we do not look at poverty. We can have an income-generating activity that will benefit the society.
In 2019, former President Uhuru Kenyatta pledged to put an end to female genital mutilation in Kenya by 2022, and concerted efforts executed by the government and other stakeholders have advanced the fight to end FGM. The COVID pandemic slowed the implementation of intervention programs to end the practice. In Kenya, girls are mostly subjected to the cut during the school holidays. They have a long period away from school and hence perceived to have time to heal from the procedure without scrutiny. There is an increased risk for girls during the long holidays. Huba Abdi for VOA News, Nairobi.
Judy Gitau in Kenya is Regional Coordinator of Equality Now, a non-governmental organization that advocates for the protection and promotion of human rights of women and girls. She explains the situation with FGM in Kenya and Africa as a whole.
The situation with FGM, if I may start with Africa, is on the legal position. There are at least 4 countries that have a high prevalence of FGM that still do not have a legal framework in place, which means FGM in those countries is going on without any form of accountability. On the positive, however, other countries that have FGM have at least a law in place. And this means even though the numbers or the prevalence is still fairly high, there's still an opportunity for accountability. With regards to Kenya specifically, some good news. The recent data health survey have indicated that the numbers have gone down from 21% to 15% this year, but there's still high prevalence in some practicing community. Now, I would say the efforts haven't been homogeneous. It depends from country to country. At the African Union level, we do have the Salima Initiative, which again seeks to accelerate the different efforts that, one, get a legal framework in place for all the countries that actually have a high prevalence rate of FGM within them, so that at least there's a basis or the policy to start from. And then the responsibility lies on each of the countries, on each of the governments to begin to push to implement the laws, but also to sensitize the communities and acknowledging that FGM is a social problem, a social norm, and therefore a need again to get the communities to understand in order to abandon this practice. But we also have to acknowledge in certain countries there's been a pullback. There's indeed both physical and psychological effects ranging from trauma to depression to anxiety, and we support them, including with our partners with psychosocial support, provide counseling, trauma counseling, in order for the victims to be able to accept the situation and then seek physical help if that is available. What is important, however, is that we ensure that we don't just have it in law, but we win hearts and minds, that everybody in the community begins to understand that this is a practice that results in harm.
60 Kenyan women came forward for life-changing reconstructive surgery of the clitoris during a recent humanitarian operation in Nairobi, seeking to reclaim their womanhood after enduring FGM during childhood. Here is the story from Reuters.
At a hospital in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, surgeons are preparing a patient for reconstructive surgery. She is a survivor of female genital mutilation, or FGM.
I was 9 years old. I didn't know about anything. I was just told that I would be taken for something to make me a complete woman. There are things that other girls enjoy, I don't. It has really put my esteem so down.
Practiced in 30 countries in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, FGM involves the partial or total removal of the external visible part of the clitoris. Usually, it is done to girls when still very young. In November 2002, the patient was one of around 60 women who came forward for reconstructive surgery of the clitoris, organized by the NGO Clitoraid. It was being offered for free during a 2-week visit of U.S. surgeon Dr. Marcy Bowers, a pioneer in the field. She operated on hundreds of Kenyan women during 2 previous visits in 2017 and 2019. Bowers said that the clitoris is around 11 centimeters long, and what is cut in FGM is just the tip.
So it's like cutting the tip of the iceberg. But beneath the surface is the iceberg. And so what we do in our surgeries is we bring that iceberg or the clitoral body to the surface so that it can be realized and sensate.
Bowers said the term they hear over and over again is life-changing, and that the patients feel like they have their sense of womanhood back.
Assita Troure is originally from Burkina Faso. She experienced FGM in her home country. She came to United States looking for a better life, accompanied by her daughter, who she did not want to endure the same trauma. Assita went through for FGM. After many years of silence, she finally decided to undergo reconstruction surgery. This is what she said.
I remember when I was a victim of excision. It was when I was 4 years old, and even remember that there were at least 3 or 4 of us in the family. The parents didn't have the means to do it, and it cost 2,000 francs at the time. So it was at the age of 4 that my parents were able to send me and my little sister, as well as older sister. We were cut. I still remember that day. It really left an image that I will never forget. After the pain you feel when you have been violated and a part that is really sensitive, imagine the pain, the healing time, all the suffering, and how it was done. It's not even done at the hospital. It's done at home with equipment that's not even appropriate. But that's not the only problem. It's when you're going to grow up and you're going to really feel the impact. Because once you heal, you forget. But now when you reach the age of puberty, at the age of childbirth, that's when the real problem starts. And I remember that at one point, it was stressing me out. It was annoying me. I thought to myself, why was someone able to take that part of me? It's like something was missing as a woman. So I learned that in Burkina Faso, you can reconstruct the clitoris. The man in question lives in France, and as I am in the United States, I prefer to make an appointment in France. The good thing about it is that you find yourself as a complete woman. That's the advantage. What was taken out of you comes back in. That at least gives you peace of mind.
At least 9 people have died in Equatorial Guinea's first outbreak of the highly infectious and deadly Marburg virus, a disease that is similar to Ebola. David Doyo has more.
Equatorial Guinea has confirmed its first outbreak of the highly infectious and deadly Marburg virus. That, the World Health Organization said, it follows the death of at least 9 people. Speaking on state television, Health Minister Mitoha Ondo Ayekaba said that samples sent to an Institut Pasteur laboratory in Senegal had come back positive for Marburg, which is similar to Ebola. The minister said the 9 deaths have been linked to a funeral ceremony in Gitau province. In addition to the 9 deaths, Equatorial Guinea has reported 16 suspected cases of Marburg virus, with symptoms including fever, fatigue, and blood-stained vomit and diarrhea. WHO said people have been quarantined and movement restricted in Gitau. Neighboring Cameroon has also restricted movement along its border. David Doyle of Reuters filed this report.
That's our show for today. For more health news, wellness tips, and medical breakthroughs, stay connected to Voice of America at voaafrica.com. You can follow me on Twitter at MkamiTVOA. Until next time, stay well and strive to make every day a healthy day.